Okay, someone or someone's, I don't really know how big this is going to resonate for, but you are slowing down your forward movement. You are causing stiffness in movement, stagnation in movement forward, because you are utilizing tools in the wrong way. So judgment and comparison are tools, and if you use them in the wrong way, they can be detrimental. They can be something that holds you back, stagnates you, causes internal disturbance. However, just like the hammer, they are a tool. They have their purpose, okay? So let's look outside of this first. Judgment. We are taught not to judge others. However, judgment at its core is something that we all do on a daily basis and something that we have to do for self-preservation. If someone is approaching you, you are needing to make quick judgments on whether that person is a friendly or whether they're not a friendly. If you are not judging your environment and judging the people around to see if they are friend or foe, you are leaving yourself vulnerable and open to be taken advantage of, to be utilized in a way that is not favorable for you, okay? Now, people will often use judgment not as a means of, they instinctively use it as friend or foe, but they more so lean into the unhealed, unintegrated ego and the wounding of using judgment to compare themselves to others, and not in a healthy way, but in a superiority, inferiority way. And comparison is the same thing. They say comparison is the thief of all joy, but that's only if you're comparing yourself to see if you are superior or inferior compared to whatever you're comparing yourself up against. If you use judgment and you use comparison as tools for self-reflection to see where you're at in your own journey, then they become tools that help you move forward, that don't cause that internal disturbance. Oftentimes we get that internal disturbance from comparison because we deem that we are inferior to someone else, that they are superior in some way, or we stagnate ourselves going the other way. We deem we are superior to them and not inferior. It's the difference between seeing yourself as better or worse than someone else, as opposed to ahead or behind someone else. Just because you're behind someone else doesn't mean that you're better or worse. It just means that you are behind them in this journey, in this place, because of a multitude of reasons. Maybe you started that journey later. Maybe you were up against maybe you didn't have as many obstacles that were advancing as quickly as the other person, okay? Maybe your journeys aren't actually that aligned, so you're only perceiving that you're behind or ahead, all right? And the same thing with someone being ahead or you being ahead. It really has nothing to do with you being superior or better than anybody else. It just means that at the place in your journey, you're over here and somebody is back here, okay? This is not inferior, superior. It's not a hierarchy this way, okay? So when you start using comparison and judgment as a means of self-reflection to go within and reflect on your own journey, instead of putting that outside of you, you call your power back and you free up your movement forward. So if you're looking at somebody, you come across somebody and they trigger a comparison, they cause you to compare where you're at, where they're at. Instead of looking at it as, oh, they're better than me, and letting that disturbance sink in and then stall you, you can look at it and say, okay, they're more advanced than I am. They are further along in a certain journey than I am. They have more knowledge than I do. That gives you a gauge of, okay, that's where I'm trying to get to. This is where I am. I need to put in XYZ amount of effort. It's like seeing somebody that is more fit than you. You're not worse than them. They're not better than you. There's just certain work that needs to be put in. Your path, what you're doing on a daily basis, maybe needs to be reevaluated to see, Are your daily movements aligned with you getting to that place that they're at, that you want to be? And not that you want to be in their place, but that you want to be in a place that is more aligned with where they're at, okay? If you are not as physically fit and you're trying to get physically fit and you see somebody that's physically fit, that's a great time to ask, what is your daily habit? What do your daily habits look like? What does a normal day in your life look like? What do you normally eat on a base? Those questions, so that you can then look at the way that you're doing life and say, oh, okay, they're ahead of me in this journey because they're not doing this, or they're doing this more, or they're doing this less. Okay, maybe you're pushing yourself too hard and it's slowing down gains. Maybe you're limiting yourself too much and it is causing your body to go into survival mode. That type of thing. 545 on the timer. When you start using tools like judgment, like comparison, as a means to self-reflect, instead of putting that power outside of you in a superiority hierarchy scale, you free up your ability to move forward. You call that power back and you have more room to self-assess, so that you can either look and say, oh, I remember when I was there. I'm grateful. Look at how far I've come. Or that's where I want to get. That's where I want to get to. I want to get to a place that's more aligned with that. What do I need to change? What do I need to do in my everyday life to align me more with that? Does that make sense? Somebody has all of the things that they need, but they are placing their power outside of themselves onto others, feeling like others have it easier. Others have access to things that they don't have access to. It's stalling things. I've got a loud buzzing fly over here now. They're putting so much focus on how someone else got to where they're at, instead of looking at where they're at and what they need to do to get to a similar place. Okay, I use fitness because that's the easiest one that's the first one that's come to my mind. Okay, I think that's it. Happy healing.